It's me, bud.
It's time for ACC Central, presented by Just Means Less.
I drive into right. It's enough. It's back. And it's gone for the cycle. It's a walk-off grand slam. Florida State wins it.
Hosted by Monty Taylor.
In the air, center field. Moore is under it. And on to Omaha for the Cardinals.
Micah Butel.
Fly ball driven into left field. Spin. Does he do it? He does. A walk-off homer by Ken Schmidt.
And Nick Dioli.
Gets it down. Here comes Mac. He is safe. And Boston College wins.
Fastball off the plate for 2 balls, 2 strikes. Monty just got landed on.
There are 2 pigeons roosting right above me, and my can of Pepsi.
Smacked into right field. And
Welcome back to the World Series of Golf. I'm your host, Marty Tyler. Joining me, as always, the never sober Bobby You know what? It's my other job. I apologize. Let's wrap this, reverse it. Welcome back, college baseball fans. I'm Monty Taylor, not Marty Tyler. Joining me, as always, Nick Dioli, Micah Butel. It is our final day of ACC team takeovers. Wake Forest fans, you've waited. And we are finally delivering the preview you've always wanted. It's Wake Forest Takeover Day. We are just days away from the college baseball season. Micah, Nick, how you guys doing? Micah, we'll start with you. We know how much you love Wake Forest. We're glad you're here. We tried to make sure you were included here. You forced yourself upon us. Talk to me.
Yeah, I had to defend my allegation. I feel like if I missed the Wake Forest show, there was no chance I was going to beat the allegations of a Wake Forest hater. So, which again, to this day,
Wake Forest first.
To this day is still the funniest thing because I think of the 3 of us on this call, I've spent the most money at Wake Forest because I've been a season ticket holder for 8 years football. So crazy that I'm known as a Wake Forest hater, but hey, you know what? Keep taking my money and saying that I'm a hater. So that's cool, you know.
To be fair, it is not the school that is claiming you're a hater.
I mean, fair.
Yeah, it's to be fair. The ones on Twitter that are constantly doing it are fans. But Nick, how are you doing, buddy? This is your show. I mean, this is an NC State. This is your Super Bowl.
Yeah. Wait, actually, can we talk about this for a second? Nick is an NC State diehard fan, but gets treated like he's Wake Forest royalty because his family feeds the community.
I'd like to point
out for NC State Wake Forest.
What?
Who do you cheer for at NC State Wake Forest?
What sport?
All right.
Can we talk about the audacity of Micah bringing this up as if he and I aren't UVA fans that are treated like royalty by other programs?
I mean, that's so valid, though.
So it's just to throw that out there.
Sorry, I'm a legacy over there, but I can't help it.
Now it sounds like a fraternity. It sounds like he's rushed Wake Forest.
No lie. I one time got into a fraternity party when I was in community college, just like I told them who I was. And they didn't believe me. I showed them my license. They're like, oh.
Sounds like an episode of Community. All right, let's talk some Wake Forest Demond Deacon baseball. I I'm pretty high on this team, I think, but at the same time, there's some concerns. But let's quickly dive into the Demon Deacons. Obviously, last year they finished 39-22. They were 8th in the ACC, upset by 6 a.m. Cal in their first game of the ACC tournament. I believe that was the second round. They earned the 2 seed in the Knoxville Regional. They took Tennessee to the very end, but ultimately fell just short. They had their ups and downs, but let's pull up the departures there, because once again they had some first round draft picks. That would be my Twitter messages. Let's ignore that.
Oh man, that was a lot of OnlyFans bots in the mentions.
Yeah. My bad. Wait, those are bots?
Monty pulling over here. Him. Hashtag him.
All right, here we go. Some key departures there. Obviously, Ethan Conrad was hurt most of the year, but he was a first-round draft pick. Obviously, Merrick Houston, the big name there. And then, some transfers in there. I think probably Hayden LeFew is probably the one that hurts the most. He kind of emerged as the closer last year. Josh Gunther was a former kind of guy as the closer. But yeah, a pretty solid list here. We'll start with Micah. Who are they going to miss the most? And I know where you like to lean, right?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's also hit close to home. It was very weird, Monty, when I was at the Lamar Texas fall game to not I completely forgot that Hayden LeFew had transferred to Texas, and like he goes to warm up, and I'm like, what the? And I'm like. And like I literally text former Miami SID, now Texas SID, Josh White. I'm like, is that Hayden LeFew? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I completely forgot he went to Texas.
And remember, Micah's in football mode. Huh? Yeah, because you're in football mode as well, so you're not necessarily as dialed in on remembering who's transferred where.
I was devastated to see him come out because I was like, that's right. I mean, obviously, I think there's a few key departures, but like the ones that were unexpected, that clearly was probably the most sad. Like you said, like he emerges the closer. I mean, I think if he's at Wake Forest right now, we'll get to the pitching staff in a little bit, but we definitely feel even better about what they have if he's there on the back end, waiting. So that was probably for me again, and it was just kind of funny because like I remember I was like, oh God, like it was kind of cool though, because like I got to like kind of give the low key scout to our guys. I'm like, hey, like this is what he throws, because this is what he threw at Wake. So, but yeah, it was that for me for sure the answer that I will hammer home.
What's fun is we're gonna get like the personal vibes from Nick here. Who are you gonna miss the most, right, Nick? Because obviously a lot of these guys visited Dioli's. I know one of them.
Which guy hurt business the most by leaving?
Yeah, it was. I'm gonna guess. Can I guess?
Okay, wait, let me look at the list. Let me just double check.
I know my answer.
Okay.
Matt, in 1 year, I'm going to guess it was Matt Bedford.
My answer is Chris Katz.
Ooh.
Oh, Micah got it. It was between
the Cat Man,
between Chris Katz and Joe Areola, who still
that was my second choice. I mean, Matt Bedford did go there a lot. It sounded like
that was like you guys nailed the top three. I want to say of this list, and then I would say Merrick was 4.
Did Hayden LeFew ever go to Dioli's?
Hayden came in a lot too.
Okay, when I see it, because when Lamar plays Texas in the midweek, I might have to go up to Hayden and be like, "Hey, you know what I really miss? A Dioli's
chicken parm."
Yeah. What was his order?
He kept it simple. He was simple bacon, egg, and cheese.
Oh, I'll go up to him and be like, "Yo, it hit right now. A Dioli's bacon, egg, and cheese. It's gonna throw him off his game, so it'll be great."
Joe is still coming in right now because he's like,
I imagine there's a bunch of the guys still, like, because a lot of guys come back to the college campuses at this time of year, right? Like to work out.
Yeah. But good guess, Micah. Good guess. Chris Katz. What a pull.
I just remember you mentioning him a lot, Monty. Geez, Nick. Like that was a pull.
Yeah. Can I say who I think I'm going to miss from that nice? Team, though? Like who I think is going to be a key departure?
No.
Oh, yeah. We didn't give you a chance. I'm so sorry, Nick. We were too busy worrying about your family business.
We did other stuff instead.
Yeah, true. The business is more important. Anyway, I think Matt Scannell is going to be missed a lot by this team. I know he was there just 1 year, but man, he was an incredible defensive right fielder. He had a cannon for an arm. I think I attended 3 separate games where Matt Scannell threw someone out at home or at second base. He was a great leadoff spot. Could hit for power, could hit for average. He was really, really good for this team. I think he was a big reason why they got to where they were last season. So I think Scannell is going to be a big, big miss. He did go undrafted to the Blue Jays and was an immediate impact for the team that he started off with.
Good. Yeah, it's great to hear. I'm excited about the newcomers. It looks like they've got a good balance of a couple of transfers and then a couple of really good recruits. So looking at that, we're not gonna do our usual, hey, who are you most excited about? Because we're gonna talk about all these guys when we talk about the pitching and the lineup. So let's dive into that pitching, because this looks like the strength of the team, right? The options are pretty clear. Blake Morningstar, I think he's gonna take his status to another level. Matthew Dallas, and then Cam Bagwell, who was the CAA Freshman of the Year. He's sliding in there. And then Chris Livonis, I'm hearing some and seeing some crazy stuff from what he's doing in the preseason. I currently have him projected as the midweek guy, but I think he's going to be in the weekend rotation sooner rather than later. And then here's the options in the bullpen. You get Will Ray back from injury, Luke Schmolke, and then a quintet of sophomore arms there who are all breakout potential, had huge summers. And then the freshman arms, there's a good group of them, 6 of them. So they've got a very deep pitching staff once again. Who wants to start talking about this Wake Forest pitching staff? We'll start with Micah so he can beat the allegations.
Why are we always starting with me, man? I mean,
we're starting with Nick so that Micah can Micah can't beat the allegations. So we're starting with Nick.
That sounds great. Rotation wise, I am very excited about Chris Livonis. I think he's going to be a stud. Frigate flyer at Deloitte as well, but I've heard a lot of great things about him. He's going to be really, really good. I hope he does make his way into the weekend rotation. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that. Relievers, obviously, Will Ray, that is huge. I'm really happy he's coming back after a pretty bad injury with the Tommy John. I'm also really look at that.
Also a frequent flyer.
Look at Monty go. Duncan Marstead, I think, is going to be a huge asset for these relievers. I mean, you could go along the list. I mean, we saw all these guys last year, but we didn't see a whole lot of Duncan Marstead till the end of the year. And when he broke out, I mean, he was touching really high 90s, striking guys out. He is going to be a breakout player, I think.
Absolutely. By the way, the stats for Cam Bagwell as freshman of the year for UNC Wilmington: 15 starts, 9-2 record, 3.07 ERA, 62 strikeouts, just 17 walks in 85 innings. That's a nice guy to have in your Saturday or Sunday role behind Blake Morningstar, who went 6-2 with a 3.87 ERA, 93 strikeouts in 79 innings. Just loving this pitching staff. Micah?
Yeah, I mean, this is a solid group. I'm curious because I really do think Tom Walter nailed the hire for the replacement for Corey Muscara with Eric Neeson, obviously coming over from the Houston Astros organization. I'm curious, right? I mean, it's hard to lose one of the best pitching coaches and pitching minds in the game, but I think they may have, at the bare minimum, done a good job of replacing that, right? You're going to need development from these sophomores to take a step forward in 2026. And obviously, you bring in a bunch of talented freshmen that, again, if they take the right steps forward, I mean, the pitching lab didn't go anywhere. Thankfully, Corey Muscara couldn't pick that up and move that to Duke. So it still stays there for the development for these Wake Forest pitchers. So, I mean, I'm excited to see what they are. I mean, I agree with you, Monty. I think you're going to get a better Blake Morningstar and Matthew Dallas in 2026. And if you do, I mean, that's lethal.
Yeah, and by the way, Will Ray, hopefully he's back to what he was before. Obviously, with that kind of an injury, you never know exactly how long it takes to get that strength back. But if he's back to form, he's huge. And obviously the vibes are unmatched. He's a frequent flyer dealies as well. And I had him on the show last year. Great kid. Wake Forest through and through. But in terms of these sophomores, I mean, pick your breakout candidate. Wysong, Dressler, and Bowie. I can't figure out which of the three are going to be the big breakout star. One of them, and possibly more of them, could be. They all were fantastic over the summer in starting roles. They were dominating the Cape down the stretch. And were just fantastic. Duncan Marston to a certain extent as well, but I feel like he was a little bit more high profile of a recruit than the other three. But yeah, I'm just really excited about this pitching staff and what it could be. Moving along, there's a look at the potential staff there right now. Again, we do have Morningstar, Dallas, and Bagwell projected in the weekend rotation with Chris Lavonis as the midweek guy. But I think Lavonis is going to force his way into the rotation. And then, Will Ray's the relief ace, but Schmokey and Johnston right there as well. And then you've got, some impact freshmen like Marcelo Harsh and Evan Jones there. But yeah, it's a pretty deep staff. And I think it's got the chance to be one of the upper half top 5 ACC pitching staff.
Yeah, I think it has the potential to. I think a guy that we should keep an eye on out of the bullpen is Zach Johnson, a guy who's has seen some really good ups, but also has experienced some pretty bad lows in terms of situational baseball. If he can take a big step this year, this bullpen is going to be very, very good. I'm kind of looking at him to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if he can even just get back to form of where he was as a sophomore, I think it's a big step. It's just last year was not great. So if he can kind of get back to the sophomore form, you've got a really experienced trio in Ray, Schmokey, and Johnston, and then you've got those high upside guys in Marston, Dressler, Wysong, and Bowie, and then the freshmen. I'm really excited about this staff. All right, let's take a look at the lineup, which I'm going back and forth on. Their days that I'm like, man, this is going to be a really, really, really good offense, and they were last year, right? They have a chance to do it again. Let's take a look at the group here. They bring in Boston Torres. I think a lot's going to hinge. We know Cade Lewis is going to hit, right? He's an All-American. We know Dalton Wentz is going to hit, but the other two sophomores, I think it's going to rely a lot on their development. In Luke Costello in right field, if he can continue to do what he did in the second half of last year, I think he was one of the best freshmen in the conference down the stretch. And then Matt Conte getting full reps as a catcher, outstanding. If he can take a big jump, I think he's going to be a very, very big part of this. And then, of course, who's going to be the shortstop?
Yeah,
Nick, Micah, go ahead.
Let's say, the shortstop position's got to be the biggest question mark, right? I mean, you're losing a stud in Merrick Houston, and obviously you don't even really know truly how you're going to replace it. I mean, J.D. Stein is a well-respected, right, freshman that comes in with a lot of talent, a lot of high upside, but right, I mean, you're replacing a true veteran and one of the better shortstops in the sport. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do there. Monty, I will say this, and I don't know if we're leaning into this or not, but I'm a big fan of Boston Torres, the transfer from VMI. I think, obviously, I didn't know that he wasn't able to do much in the fall with that. I saw your notes about the appendicitis issue he was going on, but he was a stud at VMI, someone that can really do some damage in the lineup, a ton of speed, very athletic. Love what he could potentially do there at Wake out in left field. If he returns to his Wake Forest his VMI form at Wake Forest, that's going to be a serious threat out there in the outfield.
Yeah, when I saw him in the scrimmage, he had just come back. He had just come back to hit, and he was at the bottom of the order, which is not where he's going to be. He's going to be the leadoff guy with the ability to get on base and steal bases. He's got to be the leadoff guy in front of Cade Lewis and Dalton Wentz. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. I'm glad you kind of filled him out. And then on the flip side, Javar Williams is a similar type player, maybe not quite as good as Boston Torres, but a high on base guy with some speed ability. He's going to probably be in the 9-hole flipping over the lineup. I really like those two guys. But Nick, who are you circling here? I know where you're going.
Well, I will say shortstop is going to be a big question mark, and this is not the first time that Wake has had to replace a shortstop. Like Merrick Houston was a freshman when he replaced Michael Turconi. So they've been in these waters before at the shortstop position.
Right. And I think it was generally assumed before JD Stein stepped on campus that Blake Schaff was going to be the shortstop, the Georgetown transfer. But like you mentioned, that it sounds like similar. They really like JD Stein and what he does defensively, and he's a little bit more mature with his approach than they maybe thought he was going to be, and it gives you kind of flashbacks to that Merrick Houston freshman year possibility, forcing. That's why you have Schaff possibly moving to second, and then do you push Austin Hawk to the bench? It's a nice problem to have because somebody good is going to be on the bench.
Yeah, and like it was kind of similar to last year with Antonio Morales and Austin Hawk. And I think Austin Hawk just ended up taking over the position halfway through the season. So they kind of find themselves in a similar situation again with Austin Hawk. It'll be interesting where they put him, how often they're using him at DH. But if I am picking a player like, who's the stud on this team, there are so many to pick from because they all had amazing sophomore and freshman seasons. Dalton Wentz, I mean, I think he's going to be an absolute animal this year. I mean, he was just so consistent last year. Playing third base is going to be huge. I really like what I've seen from him so far.
And I believe he is draft eligible, so you have to realize that Lewis and Wentz are probably in their final season at Wake Forest. They're going to be the two bats that you're circling there. I think Costello's kind of going to be – I think, again, a lot of how their offense goes is going to depend on Luke Costello in that cleanup role and continuing what he did last year. But his little brother reclassified out of nowhere and joined the team in January. This is a kid that was going to be a pretty high draft pick, and I don't know how much he's going to get an opportunity to play right away. He's obviously a catcher, and they've got Keenan and Conte, who are probably going to both be in the lineup at times because Keenan's had a really productive offseason with the bat. But it's a very exciting prospect there. And of course, you get the brother connection there with the Costello brothers, at least playing together this year and hopefully next year as well. Micah, do you have anything else you want to add on this before we look at the potential batting order?
No, I mean, it's again a lot of talented guys. It's gonna be interesting to see where it comes from. Like someone in this lineup is gonna have to step up to kind of be a second big bat behind Cade Lewis. I think if they can get that second threat, what made that 2023
with Kurtz and Wilkin.
Yeah, what made them so special, right, was having two guys that you just look at and you're like, so. I think if they can get that second role, which I'm sure they're going to find somewhere, I think that'll be huge for them, obviously, moving into 2026.
Yeah, let's take a look at this batting order. I'm sure Wake Forest fans are going to have a field day with this, but I feel pretty good about the top 4 or 5 guys, 6 guys. The question, again, is that shortstop. I felt very weird sending Austin Hawk to the bench. Let's take a look at Austin's numbers last year. 303 with 8 doubles and 10 home runs. 34 walks and 34 Ks in, not being the primary second baseman on opening day, kind of breaking into the order in the middle of the year. Those are pretty impressive numbers. That's a guy that I pushed to the bench that I don't feel great about. He's obviously going to get playing time, but I just felt like you still want Blake Schaff's ability in there too, right? He's got 16 extra base hits, a 344 average, and 31 stolen bases. So, but the other thing is you've got somebody like Tyler Figueroa who can play any of the infield positions and also any of the outfield positions. So you've got some depth here, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this offense goes. Cause I think we talked about the offense last year being very different, not maybe being as good. And then they ended up being one of the best offenses in the ACC. But Nick, what are your thoughts here on this potential batting order? What would you change?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just said it best. It's hard to keep Austin Hawk out of this lineup. And what he can do on the base paths, too. I should mention that he could be a threat on the base path as well because he is speedy. But what I see is potentially a lot of power from 2 to 6. I mean, we're talking like hopefully all of them being double-digit home run guys. Hopefully a couple breaking into like the 20 home run category. The problem is, since 2023, the lineup has just never been consistently going. It tends to slump at times. We have seen in the 2024 season and in the 2025 season. And remember, 2024, they still had Nick Kurtz, and he was very inconsistent until ACC play after he healed up from his shoulder. So I think that's the key here. How consistent can batters 2 through 6 be with the power and getting on base?
Absolutely. Michael, what are your thoughts here on this potential batting order? I mean, how are you feeling about Wake Forest looking at this and after discussing their pitching a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be it's so hard to leave Austin Hawk out of the lineup. I mean, I know you're going to
It felt strange.
like, I mean, it's one of those, my brain almost goes, can he play shortstop? like you almost just say, like, screw it. His bat is worth maybe an additional, error or two. I'm not saying that he would commit them, but like if he's not comfortable right at that position, obviously being a second baseman. But yeah, I mean, this is heck, if that's what you have coming off the bench, though, that's not a bad bench piece to pinch hit in a key spot. So no, I mean, this Wake Forest lineup, it's obviously not the same as the names from a few years ago, but they're going to hit. And obviously, considering where they play it at home as well, I mean, again, it always gets the bandbox nickname, but I mean, they play well there. So obviously, that's going to play a huge role into what they're going to do. So.
And what I think is going to help them is that they're flying under the radar. I think D1's the only publication I've seen that's ranked them. I think everyone else kind of has them in that 25 to 30 range, so they're kind of flying under the radar, not getting the attention that they've gotten in the last couple of years. And I think that's going to help them a little bit to maybe find some consistency, not have to deal with any rat poison. Let's take a look at this schedule. They head to Puerto Rico to kick things off, along with obviously Boston College and NC State, who they will not be playing. A fun quirk about the schedule, as we discussed before when we talked about Clemson, is that they will play Clemson in a non-conference midweek game in Charlotte. Even though they're ACC opponents, they'll play a non-conference game. That'll be really cool to see. But yeah, let's take a look at their ACC schedule. They're going to open up Stanford, hosting Stanford and hosting Florida State. It's a nice little favorable thing. Then they go to Virginia. They host Cal, so they get Cal and Stanford at home. And then they have to go to Pitt, which will be cold. And then they go to Miami, which is tough. They host NC State. They go to Georgia Tech. They host Louisville, and they end with facing former friend Corey Muscara to end the year. Nick, what are your thoughts on this schedule? Obviously, I remember last year, the home schedule last year wasn't quite as fun in terms of like big time matchups, but obviously you're getting some fun ones here. You're going to have Stanford and Cal, but you've got Louisville coming to town. You got NC State coming to town. And then you've got, who am I missing? Florida State coming to town, which is always a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. I'll never forget Micah saying, if you're a Wake Forest season hit ticket holder, you should return your tickets because the home slate is awful. And I was like, yeah, you know what? That's kind of it. Now, it turned out that the Miami series was actually pretty fun. And we all know what Miami did last year, or ending the year. But yeah, Micah hit the nail on the head. This is a much, much better home schedule. And I love now that Wake is doing something different in the beginning of the season. They're not hosting their own little round robin in the beginning of February. As fun as those games can be, and you see Wake win a lot of those games and really never, ever lose.
It doesn't tell you anything about your team.
Exactly. Like, great. You get off to a 9-0 start. That's fine. And, I think Walt is kind of helping teams' RPIs a little bit there. But I love that they're going to Puerto Rico. I love the change of scenery. Am I going to miss a couple of home games? Yes, but I think it's going to be great for the team to play some bigger name brands and kind of go out on the road a little bit. Love to see a couple of Carolina schools back on their schedule. Last year, they only played UNC. This year, they are playing NC State and Duke again, so that will be great. And yeah, the home schedule, I think, is a lot more exciting. So It should be a lot. There's a lot of opportunity here. I mean, at Virginia, at Miami, a lot of opportunity on the road as well.
Yep, and obviously they got their midweek home and away matchup with Coastal again. They go to App State. They go on the road a little bit during midweeks, which is pretty cool. Is this schedule doesn't have Clemson on it, does it? It doesn't have the new. So I got this before they published the Clemson one. So Clemson is on there. I can't remember when it is. I know it's the week Clemson's going to Stanford because they're basically playing in Charlotte and then flying out of Charlotte, I imagine. But Micah, what are your thoughts here on the schedule and what Wake Forest has?
They play Clemson the Wednesday before they go to Pitt, Monty, just so you know.
Thank you very much, you handsome devil, you.
I mean, my biggest question mark with Wake Forest this year is when it comes to the lineup, I'm still a little bit hesitant on where that lineup's going to be in terms of like where it's going to rank in the ACC pecking order. Monty, you ready for a fun fact?
Yes, sir.
Last year, Wake had 6 games where they scored less than a run, or 2 runs or less on the road. They were a perfect, and by perfect, I mean just perfect because it's even, 11-11 on the road. They were 15-14 total, including neutral site games, away from the couch. They were 24-8 at home. You want to know why they were 24-8 at home? Because they averaged 5 more runs per game. Not 5 more, 3.5 more runs per game at home. They're going to need to – this road schedule's rough, man. Like, if they play the way they did on the road last year, they're losing weekends at Miami, Georgia Tech, and I'm missing one more big one.
Virginia.
Where's the other big one? Virginia. And I think, honestly, I think they might slip up one of the Pitts and Dukes based off what they did last year.
Yeah.
So if they can right that ship and win, again, they're challenging themselves to start by going to Puerto Rico. It's not, I mean, Wake Forest is the best team of the 4 in Puerto Rico. Like, they're better than Washington. That's probably the second best team. Houston, I don't think is very good, in my opinion, this year. And then Indiana State is not, unfortunately, the Indiana State that we saw 2-3 years ago that was hosting a regional. So you have a group where I don't think they're going to struggle much at home. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they get through Puerto Rico undefeated, if they're potentially undefeated when they have Coastal in the midweek down in Conway. But they're just going to have to be a little bit better on the road. I mean, it's very plausible. I don't think Wake Forest misses the NCAA tournament this year, but they're going to have to be a little bit better away from the couch because they did a great job of that. The years when it was, Nick Kurtz and that squad, if they can kind of figure out how to do that again, next year. I mean, they got swept at Virginia Tech last year. They got swept at home to Virginia Tech. At home?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was at home. You're right. So, that's what it was. They got swept by North Carolina and scored a total of 4 runs in those 3 games. I mean, obviously, North Carolina, a good pitching team, but.
So I was there for those games. In the 4 games that I saw Wake Forest, they gave up like 60 runs.
And again, in those 3 games against North Carolina, they scored 4 total.
I was almost
hates you, Monty.
I was almost banned by the SID. So during the ACC tournament, when Cal was putting up runs on him, he came into the room and just glared at me. It was very scary. But hopefully that North Carolina series was unbelievably bad.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like last year, I mean, like it's crazy. If they don't play as bad as they do in game 1 against Cincinnati in that Knoxville regional, I think they get to the supers. Like, they had Tennessee right on the ropes. They ran out of arms because they had to literally play.
They lost that first game. Yep.
Yeah. Like losing game 1 against Cincinnati, just put them behind the 8 ball. I mean, I have the audacity to say they were the best team in that regional. I mean, I wasn't super high on that Tennessee team last year. I mean, at the bare minimum, they were on a pretty even playing field with that Tennessee team. So, it's tough that's how it bounced. But yeah, this is a team that, I mean, could we see Wake Forest in Omaha? Absolutely. I think we definitely could if all things click. But again, I'm very hesitant just with this lineup. And again, the way last year went away from home. again, it's not fair. I don't think it's fair to punish Wake Forest because they obviously still have to pitch inside their home ballpark too. It's not like, they're getting a different field when they're on the mound at home, but like they need to be better on the road. Plain and simple. They need to play better away from the couch. And if they can do that, that's a very dangerous team. I mean, very dangerous. Again, Tom Walter knows how to win games. It's just a matter of, can they put it together when it matters?
Yeah, it's gonna be really exciting to see how that shakes out. And I think it's interesting because it depends on my mood on how I think Wake Forest is gonna be this year. And again, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised to see them in Omaha either. And yet they're probably our 9th ranked team. But 9th ranked team in the ACC, not in the top 25. But let's talk about the outlook. Micah, we'll start. They're making the tournament, right?
Yeah, they're an NCAA tournament team. I mean, I don't like the word dark horse regional host because, I mean, if you're top 30 team, I don't think that makes you a dark horse, but I could see a regional at the couch. I'm not predicting that. I actually had them as a 3 seed in my bracketology. I got a little bit of heat for that. Looking back on it, I may move them to a 2. I did a really bad job of placing too much, I think, on the regionality of things and not all just, the fact that if you're top 32, you're top 32. I really worry about the lineup from just if it's going to be what it's capable of, because it's just not fair. They're lacking the names they've had in the past, and that's really not fair to these guys and these kids because Nick Kurtz is a name that everyone in baseball knows now,
right? And a lot of these guys were on a team last year that lit up the scoreboards. I mean, they had monster. Yeah, so it's interesting that we're still sitting here talking about it though, but they've got to continue to develop and show that wasn't a fluke. Maybe like Luke Costello had a half season. Basically, we're hoping that he can do what he did for a full season.
And it does feel like, just based off what we talked about, right, Nick? I'm so glad you pulled that. Honestly, I appreciate you reminding me that I literally said that season ticket holders should ask for a refund last year. Like their schedule is tougher this year. Yeah. So I mean, they won 39 games last year. If this team is not better than last year, then that's probably 33 wins. And they're still in the tournament, but that is fringe 2-3 seed. I love our guy, Pair Ratings. Pair Ratings has Wake floating in that like 28, 29 range. Like, I mean, again, any given night they can go out there and obviously win. It's just, and again, too, like if the Friday, Saturday punch of Morningstar, and why am I drawing a blank on the other guy?
Cam Bagwell or Matthew Dallas.
Dallas. Like if that's your Friday, Saturday, right? Like, if those guys are what we think they can be, I mean, they might not have to score 6 runs on the road.
I think the pitching is
3-2 ball games. And so if that's the case, then again, we're talking about a whole different story. So I think my brain has just unfortunately become so like Wake has to score 15 runs to win a game. And it's like, no, they don't. Like they have the arms to win a 4-3 ball game if they need to. So it's just a matter of just, I think, accepting that. And Wake Forest fans, you can say that makes me a hater. It's just, I have a hard time accepting it. And that's just my fault. I'll wear that. But again, this is a team that, I mean, I would love nothing more than for Nick to be able to have a regional in his backyard. So that way he can just, enjoy a nice casual stroll to the couch. But, and also Wake Forest social media, if national championships were handed out for social media, we would give Wake Forest a national title. So shout out to their social team.
Absolutely. Yeah. Their creative and social team's fantastic. Nick, what are your thoughts? I agree with most of what Micah said. It's just, again, it's just a weird, they're very intriguing, and I can convince myself either way of what they're capable of. But I do think the pitching is better. I'm going to go ahead real quick before Nick. I think they're a tournament team. I think they obviously have the ability to get to Omaha. They have the ability to host a regional, but they also could be a 3 seed if things don't go perfectly. They just got to figure out a way to be more consistent than they have in the last couple of seasons. Nick, hit me.
I think this team has the capability of hosting a regional. I think they have the capability of maybe even being a 2 seed and getting out of a regional and going to a super regional, and just upsetting a couple of teams along the way. Can they make Omaha? Yeah, they can if everything clicks. And I think the nature of the game this year is, boys, they got to stay consistent. Like, last year was such a whirlwind where they get destroyed at UNC. Virginia Tech sweeps them at home, but they can casually go down to Florida State and put a beat down on them and win 2 out of 3. They can, a couple of weeks later, go all the way out to Stanford and win 2 out of 3. The inconsistency has just been really intriguing. Honestly, it's very entertaining baseball if you're just kind of taking a step back and being like, what is this Wake Forest baseball team? It's a team with a lot of power. I think that's coming back. I think the pitching is going to be a lot better this year. I think a lot of guys last year had some question marks and just, again, were not very consistent. But yeah, I think the potential for this team, they can get to Omaha, but I feel comfortable saying they can make some noise in the NCAA tournament and get to a supers and, upset a few teams along the way.
Absolutely. That's going to wrap us up here on our team previews. We did it. 16 teams, 16 days, and we're not done. We've got a couple more preview shows coming up this week, including our first weekend preview coming later in the week, and then hopefully we've got some other content. But for now, we got to go rest and recover and prepare for the college baseball season. Micah Butel, Nick Dioli, thank you guys for joining me. Thanks for mostly, I think you guys missed a total of 3 shows combined, considering, the amount of time this took. Great job, guys, and I can't wait for another season with you all.
It's going to be fun. I can't wait.
Until next time, which might be tomorrow, it just means less.